All right, so the problem with the homeless and the disabled is we don't have any representation anywhere. No representatives anywhere. I do mean that, especially the homeless. We don't have any representatives in Congress. We don't have national attention. I mean, we're the ones that the media and the police try to blame for every goddamn thing. Y'all see how many homeless people have been abused. You guys have just hit a serious national epidemic of violence towards homeless people. What the hell? You're supposed to maintain a 6 foot distance, but you can't seem to keep your nasty cockbeaters to yourself. Read a few things in the last few days where people are just they have such mean things to say about homeless people. Like they need to wash their hands more. Well, that doesn't seem like a mean thing, does it? It doesn't. Sure would be nice if they all had that access. I have that access. My hands were filthy this morning. Filthy. The stuff that I'm trying to work on, it's greasy, it's nasty, it's covered in soot. I mean, it's just gross stuff. And although I'm not homeless, I have this box. And when I go to talk to people in town that I know, I try to take advantage of the fact they got a sink. Sometimes they bitch that I'm in their bathroom too long, but when you make their sink look like that, you got to clean up your mess. Those who are called mentally ill, we especially don't have any representation or any representatives. What we got is a bunch of, well, a bunch of people who don't know the experience making decisions for us. Instead of one of us being our representative, we have people who interpret and speak for us. And when they interpret and speak for us, they make a lot of fucking mistakes. You look at what happened when Graham spoke for me. Look at how many people that I got pissed off at for speaking for me. Was I within my right to be pissed off at them? Yes, they were blackfaced. They weren't speaking my words, they were speaking their interpretations, and some of them were completely the opposite of what I was saying. Many of them, right at the beginning, they're listening to what other people are telling them and they're reinterpreting that however they want. And I'm like, hey, this is not what I told this person. That was the biggest problem with Layla Johnson. Like, I found out later on that she was trying to pretend in all of these groups like we were boyfriend and girlfriend. We were going to get married or some fucking creepazoid shit like that. Like, wouldn't it have been nice if somebody had told me that one of the few people that I was able to get a hold of on a Facebook ban to try to get help? Wouldn't it have been nice if someone would have told me, hey, dude, she's a goddamn wingnut. Dude, she's trying to twist your shit and pretend like you guys are gonna date and you're gonna get married and fucking shit like that. And I'm like, oh my god. Even Dan Faber was buying into that fucking fantasy. I'm like, I haven't even met this lady. I'm like, hold on. All right, you guys both need to meet me in person, okay? You got this fucking fantasy in your goddamn heads. This is your fantasy. This is not fucking reality, all right? Not even anywhere fucking close. But I tell you what, some of these fucking wingnuts, they did get some useful information. There's some people that I would like to ask to be our representatives and we need to present this on a world scale. So I need these people to have a lot of support if they're willing to do it. Um, I'm going to start off with Anya Melissa, and this is probably the worst one to pick. Um, she can absolutely speak well for us. Absolutely. I just, I don't know if she is up to that type of speaking yet. I mean, if you look at the other two people that I'm going to recommend, Anna Moomin and, well, actually, I'm going to pull my phone out. Anna Moomin, the reason is because she advocates differently. She teaches differently. She tries to show a lot more of the part of the spectrum that I'm personally having to deal with. Anya Melissa has a lot of those very same traits in common too. And Anya Melissa is still broadcasting, whereas Anna Moomin, she's been having some issues with doing that. I'm sorry that I've been itching and scratching. My clothes are not clean, obviously. I was able to get a shower in last night, but I just itch. And all my skin is dry, of course. So the more I scratch, the more it itches. All right. The Aspie world. I can never remember this next guy's name. It's Dan something, but oh, this one's on top. We'll click it. We'll see if it says his last name. Oh no, we got an advertisement. So you want to be tucked in from the sofa. Okay, so where was I? Right. Okay, so dog cider. So I wanted to do a video on autism meltdown triggers because there's something really interesting. Like there are early warning signs that will tell you that your body is kind of saying, hey, watch out, you're getting close to a meltdown or you're getting close to a breakdown or whatever. And I feel like a lot of people ignore these early warning signs. So I wanted to get into that right now. But also, guys, if you haven't already, I have a free PDF download book, 7 autism life hacks that you definitely need. You can get that book on a card above here, in the end slate, and in the description down below. You can go ahead and download that. You guys are lovely little people. For a lot of people, they wanted to tell me, especially right at the beginning, they wanted to basically treat me like I just found out I was autistic, and I wasn't autistic, and I mean, people had all sorts of different opinions. We needed to not have a bunch of people that were not involved in any of it. We needed to not have a bunch of those people running around looking for somebody to fucking blame and victimize. This needed to be taken care of professionally, and it was not taken care of professionally on any fucking level. My guilt was assumed. That's what happens when you call somebody mentally ill. A lot of these people dipped out right from the get go because they saw the term mentally ill and went, "Oh, dude, he's fucked." But Dan here, he would be my number one pick, not because he's male. Um, I mean, really, a lot of the reason that I really want Anna Moomin to be able to step up to the plate is because she's pretty, and you guys really listen to pretty. And it's also because she's female, which means you are more likely to listen to her. Dan is a pretty man. Um, I don't know. I see equal sense of proportion, and that's what I judge whether somebody is pretty or not. Pretty is just physical. That's all pretty means to me. Beautiful is an internal thing. Um, and I rarely tell people that they're beautiful. And a lot of times when I tell somebody that they're beautiful, I hope that they don't take it the wrong way. I hope that they don't take it in the way that you look sense. So a lot of times I'll either explain it just before or just after I type to somebody that they're beautiful. I don't want them getting the wrong idea. But I want to ask y'all ladies. Is this guy pretty decent looking?
Get me on Instagram and Twitter. Give me a follow. Send me a DM. Whatever you want. I read and respond to every single communication I get on there. So yeah. Boom. Okay, so 3 early warning signs of autism meltdown, and I bet you get ignore these.
This is someone who's actually got autism. The problem that we have is that we have no representatives. We're being killed in numbers far exceeding those of any of these other groups that are up in the news. We're being killed at a higher rate, and we represent a much smaller percent of the population. I mean, right now they're saying between 1 in 40 and 1 in 60 people in the United States is autistic. So we're still looking at what, max of 2.5% of the population, a maximum of 2.5% of the population. Most of the people who are disabled who are being killed by the police, it's the mentally ill. That's the tag. And autistic is at the top of that list. Why is it that autistic people, even though autism is not considered a mental illness, why is it that autistic people are at the top of that list? Why are autistic people at the top of that list? And why do they throw them into those numbers for mentally ill? If autism is not considered a mental illness, but officers and the general public assume that it's considered a mental illness, then we got a major issue because they're treating somebody in a fashion that is illegal given their disability. It's not a mental illness. When they screw up like that, they got a mad scramble to try to fucking peg something on you that can justify the fact that they screwed up so badly. But the fact is, they screwed up. And every single one of these people who screwed up was able to use my disabilities to justify covering it up, to pretend that it didn't happen. That is so screwed up. But then you listen to people like Dan there, the Aspie world, seriously, fucking joke. This is Asperger's Girl. Copy video URL. This one is called Identifying Emotions. Paste, click, train. And I'll show you what she looks like. Looks are pretty important, even if it's not as a matter of looking at someone because they're attractive. It's a matter of having a visual reference, which helps you to retain memories on a lot of different things. It's a memory retention thing. I learned a lot of really cool memory retention tricks when I was younger. And I wanted to learn how how to recite me some Romeo and Juliet. O Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, for if thou wilt not be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. I still remember that. But then there's also the fact that if I am overloaded, like you're already piling too much on me, I can't handle any more, and then you're going to victimize me and pile 10,000 more things on me because not only do you not understand, you don't want to understand, you want me to be guilty. Anya Melissa, Asperger's girl.
5:45. Just got up and yeah, I'm gonna start my day. So basically next I'm just going to work out before breakfast.
All of the topics that I talk about, the reason that I picked these three people is they all talk about those topics too. But also they're not in a constant state of panic like I am. They're not in the situation I am. They have support networks there. Each one of these people has someone in their life who is supportive and understanding. That understanding part, without understanding, people aren't going to be supportive. Maybe I got the COVID. If I do, those of you who keep telling me, pray for me, pray that it kills me. uh, Somebody's got to speak before the United Nations. We've got people all over the world who are making videos. You cannot imagine how many people who are autistic are speaking specifically in English. There's a reason that they're speaking specifically in English. There's a reason that people who have Asperger's in a lot of different countries, like Germany, are speaking English in their videos. The English speaking countries are basically taking the lead in all of this. These people, the same as those living in the United States and those living in Great Britain, these people in Germany and the Netherlands, they're trying to get the United States and Great Britain to listen. They're trying to get our attention. We can't even get their attention. We can't get our government's attention as far as Asperger's goes. And we got people in other parts of the world who are making their videos specifically in English, speaking out. And we're all listening to each other, but when you guys get on there, you don't look for people with Asperger's to listen to. You don't want to hear about the experience of living with it. You want to get on, listen to some fucking boring ass doctor who doesn't have Asperger's, has no fucking clue what it's like. Maybe you should ask Jeff Baldridge what it's like when he's got to get something off of the second shelf. Jeff's in a wheelchair. But you know what? You can see that he's in a wheelchair. He has a visual marker. Isn't that crazy? So that's Asperger's girl, Anya Melissa. Starmagia typed Asperger's from the inside is a good channel as well. I'll check it out. None of these major um, charities for autism, none of them have board members. Not a single one has a board member who's autistic. Now, a lot of you, you're like, oh, well, why would you? You've got this idea of autism. Like, well, I'm going to show you what's considered low functioning autism. The difference between low functioning and high functioning autism is literally how well someone can hide it. Do you have the ability to hide the fact that you're autistic so that you don't get abused? That's the difference between low functioning and high functioning autistic people. And we're all stressed to the max. All over the world, we are exhibiting signs of PTSD, and we are having those signs of PTSD used to pretend that that's autism. Those are autistic traits. No, those are PTSD traits. That's from what you guys do to us. Your expectations of us and your bullshit. You tell us that we have the same chances and opportunities as everybody else. We don't. You don't treat us like everyone else. We're stuck in between. Those of us who are intelligent and disabled, we're stuck in between. We're stuck in between being human enough for constitutional rights. We're not quite human enough for those in your public opinion, but we're not quite worthy of the rights of a disabled person. Now we can be punished as disabled people, and we can be punished as intelligent people. This is why we fall through the cracks. Yeah, he's not disabled, so he doesn't need that help. He's smart, so he can't be disabled. But then when I try to do it myself, I get the "you're disabled" crap. We can't help you because you're disabled. Okay, well, I need to try to get some help because I'm disabled. Well, we can't help you because you're not disabled. You're smart. I gotta try to get someone to actually sit down with me in person and look at evidence. Help me make phone calls. Try to help me resend this stuff that these police departments apparently can't see if I send it. And somebody there in person can verify the emails as we go through them. I'll show you what a mean son of a bitch I've been, for goddamn sure. But you also see why. You'll get to see the parts that they won't let me show. You'll get to see the parts that I'm trying to keep off of here for people's safety. You'll get to hear those conversations from those very human beings. You'll understand that literally the only thing that I could do without someone there to look at the evidence and go in with me to make a report, there was nothing that I could do except be abused for your stereotypes. And this has happened worldwide. It's not just here in the United States. People who are autistic are being murdered as weirdos worldwide. Worldwide. People are like, hey man, the United Nations, for some odd reason, is listening to the United States but doesn't really want to listen to much of anybody else. It's hard for us. Anna Moomin, the first thing that it pops up is her Twitter account. That's Anna Moomin. Yes, she's autistic. She's also very pretty. We get that. This is a video from September 5th. It's called Why We Need Autism Acceptance. September 5th, that's the last video that she posted up. She is one of our greatest advocates. She is one of our greatest voices. And people want to listen to her because she's pretty. Those of us who have Asperger's, we don't generally give a shit. If you got some good information, we want to fucking hear it. But neurotypicals, you have this preoccupation, infatuation, and total dependence apparently on looks, which is why somebody like Anna Moomin, who probably, when she's watching videos, isn't looking for the best looking person on there, even though she's a model, I'm fairly certain she spends her time researching. I'm pretty sure that listening to a gray haired old fat man with glasses, if it's a topic that she's interested in, is something that she'll listen to for a good long while. We are very good at that. Anna Moomin would be an excellent first choice. She would be the best first choice. But also, she very much doesn't have the support that Dan does. In order to speak for us, as I said, it's pretty much a popularity contest. In order to speak for us, she'd have to be able to handle it mentally, handle the change in her routine, handle the separation possibly at times from her support network, being in strange new places. This is really scary for us. Dan, he travels a lot. He really, really tries hard to advocate for us as best as he can. That's why he's my number one choice. Um, here's here's a picture from her Twitter account. Yeah, she's autistic. She's got Asperger's, just like me. Funny, she don't look like she's got autism. Um, you guys can type this stuff up. Starmagia typed human services won't help, will they? Um, no. But if we work together, if someone makes the calls with me, it makes a lot of difference. Having somebody who has a position with the United States government or they accept money from the United States government, they have to be afraid. So I have to have somebody who doesn't work for the United States government in order to make those calls with me. Someone who cares, someone who can act as my advocate or guardian. My autism advocate here in the United or here in Nebraska, she's all the way in North Platte. You know, there's not a lot that she can do. She keeps telling me her hands are tied, but she also said she would write a letter to the judge. Also, you know, her husband was sick and got the COVID, and I've given her a break for a couple of months. She has as much shit going on in her life as I do. She's got family that's there. She's, you know, so that's a positive. The people that she's scared for the most part, are under her roof. So she knows that they're okay. For me, my brother ignoring me for fucking ever, I don't know if he's okay. I worry about him fucking constantly. But he don't give a shit about me. He doesn't care what people do to me. He doesn't give a fuck what I've been through for the last 4 years. We don't have any representatives. We have no actual representation. We've got people who want to cure us. Here's one from the BBC. Apparently, she was on the news on March 26, 2018. I didn't know that. It's called It All Made Sense When We Found Out We Were Autistic. Huh. Anna, West Midlands, says her age, all sorts of stuff. Here's one, YouTubers with disabilities uh, plus slash illness dash Anna Moomin. So she's active in a lot of different places. For a lot of us, speaking out like this is it's a lot easier for us. You guys aren't talking over us. You aren't asking 5 questions at once and interrupting our train of thought. We got to hear our thoughts and what we're saying. We got to hear what you're saying, and we're already going through the fact that we're trying not to be overwhelmed under a situation where it's an extreme emergency, such as Natalie Bollinger disappearing. Like, oh my God, dude. Or the abuse that I was enduring before that, or have had to endure since. Like, the hell that her and her friends put me through. I mean, that was worse emotionally because I was separated from everybody who's positive in my life. Everybody that I get to hang out with in my real life is they're pretty fucking negative all the goddamn time. And I'm not allowed to be negative or I'm a bad person. And I'm like, shit, I'm trying to fucking survive with less than what you got. You don't want me to be depressed and I got shit, I got jack and shit. People tell me, you got $12,000. Where'd you throw it all away at? Why ain't you got nothing to show for it? I do have stuff to show for it. I don't have any property though. I got to wait for other people to be home in order to go work on that stuff. In order to go work on my truck. I mean, the truck is paid for. It's already been paid for. I'm just not real good at, I'm not a transmission dude or a carburetor guy. But I've fixed them before. Different issue though. Like the one before was a Rochester carburetor. It was already bolted on. When I took it off of there, I knew what it looked like. I had that visual reference. When I put it back, I put it back the way I took it apart, the way that Rory Jeffson taught me how to do it. But this one right here, there was nothing attached to it. And the carburetor that was on it was busted. So I spent a lot of money on giving this dude who's got a vehicle that he lets me use. I give him a little bit of money, and I friggin' put money in his vehicle for gas. And I go up to Sydney, and I get what it is that I need to get. I come back, and I'd really like it if he could point out to me what needs done. Well, he just recently did, which is good. But like with a lot of people, I need a visual reference. If we can both stand there looking at it while you're telling me what the fuck you're doing, or telling me what the fuck I need to do while pointing. Hey, that's the vacuum right there, and those two right there. You can put that thing right there on one of those two right there. It doesn't matter which. Just leave the cap on the one that you don't use. That's really useful when you're pointing at it. When you're trying to explain it over the phone, or even worse in texting. I mean, you got to type it right. And Americans are real muddy as far as the English language goes. Most Americans cannot speak proper English. They are incapable. I am mostly capable when I'm talking to somebody who who I have to check my words carefully with. Like if I say something and it's not the right word that I should have used there, um, if I'm talking with somebody who kind of gets the gist of what I'm trying to say and gets it, yeah, I probably use something out of context at some point, and I am sorry about that. The more stressed I am, the more that happens. The more stress I am under, the more stress you put me under, the more stress these victims and these predators put me under because I had to deal with both. A lot of victims were getting a hold of me. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Rochelle Shelley Campbell and Danica Garner both got a hold of me, not the other way around. These are both Ted Bollinger's victims, just like Natalie, just like Alicia. But myself, not having a representative and having people who want to tell me how to think and how to feel and tell me they know everything about autism already. They don't. You're not listening to us. You're making excuses for our predators. It's ludicrous. We do need somebody who's autistic to represent us. We do. We need somebody who is capable, somebody who has a good support network, somebody like Dan. Of course, in order to do that, he'd also need a rich benefactor. Whereas all these politicians, they can pull out of public pockets. Somebody like Dan, if he was to go speak for the United Nations about how things really are for us, it might make a difference. There's a lot of people in the United States who are victimized because they're autistic. See, that's something that a lot of people didn't want to pay attention to either. The things that I say about women and why they cut, there's a reason that so many cutters flocked to me after that and wanted to tell me their story. They're like, here's somebody who's going to understand. And yeah, I do understand, but also understand that I need to get help. That's what I made this channel for. If I can't get help protecting myself and taking care of myself, I can't do anything for others except for speak. And a lot of times I have meltdowns, and that's not good for us. People use that to pretend I'm an unstable bad guy. No, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed by your expectations of me, your expectations that I should be more perfect than everyone else at all points in time. Your expectations that I have to just take the abuse, that it's okay for people to threaten me, you're just going to blow me off. You got a lot of expectations. You expect me to do it all by myself in a world that doesn't allow me to take part in those things. In a world where these police, for example, can turn off their body cameras at will. Now, if you're in a position of public safety, not just cops, nurses as well, and doctors, yeah, you're going to screw up. Everybody screws up. But most of y'all aren't willing to admit that you screwed up, especially those in public positions like that. We can't allow it to be their word versus ours when they can abuse their professional position to harm you and prevent you from being heard, to target you for wherever you are taken. The next place that you go, you're targeted. And the place after that, you're targeted. Human services might help if you call them and bug the living fuck out of them, and have your friends call and have them bug the living fuck out of them. You calling and bugging the fuck out of them might do the job to begin with, but I don't know. The thing is that just making those calls doesn't really usually do the job. Usually you have to do it together and you have to record it. With a lot of these people who said that they tried to talk to the police didn't say that in court. These people needed to come forward. The police weren't going to admit that people had been trying to call them and trying to get this bullshit to stop. But then again, these people didn't record it like I was. They either didn't apparently think that it warranted recording, or B, they didn't try. I don't know which. It doesn't really matter which. The consequences are the same for me. Whether Natalie Bollinger intended for me to be harmed in the way that I was, or she just didn't understand, the fact is I still was being harmed the way that I was, and since her death, I have been harmed so much more. Harmed physically, harmed financially, harmed psychologically. This hurt every relationship I ever had. And I've never had a girlfriend. So when I'm talking about relationships, I'm not talking about the kissy kissy fluid exchange kind. Autism Speaks doesn't have anyone autistic. We have people who are autistic who are capable of speaking for us. Please fucking listen to them. I'm not saying it's wrong for you to listen to the doctors. You can listen to the doctors and their opinions and a lot of the medical stuff. You know, a doctor knows more about the medical side than I do. But then there's also the fact that a lot of that is trial and error and assumptions and theories. Whenever you're dealing with the brain, you're dealing with mostly theory at that point. When Natalie first died, well, for a whole year before she died, I was completely honest about fucking everything. I even took the blame for things that weren't my fault because I could see other people's positions. You know, I could see how Natalie and Alicia and their family, given that situation, I could see how I was the bad guy. I could see how I could be the bad guy in that situation. That wasn't a situation where they were pretending like I was the bad guy. That part in the road was not a part where they were pretending that I was a bad guy to fucking protect their own asses. No, I was legit stuck in the road. If I was a woman, I would have been fucking scared too. I mean, I completely understood their position. And when I typed about it, I did type about it in that way. I typed, yes, I got to be the bad guy for this first time in a very long time. That's because prior to that, I mean, I was Mr. fucking perfect. That's not to say that I was the best looking dude or I was the epitome of being Jesus Christ, but I mean, like, I didn't do fucked up shit to people. I didn't have a reason to fucking lie. But for months and months and months, I told the truth and told the truth and told the truth, and it didn't matter. Nobody would do anything. But then when I lied, they locked me up. They're like, "Oh yeah, you threatened people." I'm like, "You damn right I did. I threatened them back. Maybe if you'd have fucking done something, or at least fucking documented it." But you didn't. A lot of people are like, well, look at the situation. If I was a cop, I'd think you were guilty too. That's right. I am telling you to look at the situation. I went to the police repeatedly. The reason I was going to see a fucking therapist, and it ended up being 3 of them right before Natalie fucking died. I wanted to come back up here and see Nicole Peralta instead of fucking having to go through that bullshit with Jeff Ritter. I mean, him with that fucking those phone calls with him where he's not going to be able to do anything until after Christmas. And what happened after Christmas? Natalie got shot in the fucking head. I mean, prior to that, Jeff Ritter had basically, I'm telling him what's going on. He's telling me what hoops I need to jump through. Kara Heller is telling me what hoops I need to jump through. They're setting up appointments with me. I'm actually meeting them. I met them at the Starbucks just right across Hampton Road. That's maybe a block and a half at most. Well, chapel blocks. A chapel block isn't very big. When I say about a block and a half, right now I'm in Chapel, so I'm thinking a chapel block. It's probably 1/10 of a Denver block from Ken and Leah's house to the Starbucks there, and that's where I met with Kara Heller and Jeff Ritter when we met in person. But they're not autistic. Starmatia type autism speaks. I heard they're sketchy. They are. How can they not be sketchy? I mean, this is basically blackface. None of their board members are autistic, but they want to speak for us. It's like having a bunch of white people telling us what it's like to be black. That's like a bunch of men telling us what it's like to be women. We are not represented. You look at these groups for black people, their board members are primarily black. You look at these groups for women, their board members are primarily women. You look at these groups for people who are autistic, the big ones have money for advertising. Those are the ones that you hear about. But it's not like we have a large population of contributors, and it's not like we get the same chances as the rest of you. I want you guys to take a look on average at how much autistic people get paid. On average, we get paid well below minimum wage. Most of us will feel lucky if we get a fucking day job. Not a full-time job, just a day job. A job that I can do for today because I'm fucking hungry. You're not allowed to be pissed off about the things that other people are pissed off at. Rick Sanchez keeps typing shit and retracting it. I don't know what the hell he's typing. Usually that's trolling, people being assholes. Anyway, it's 7:52. I've been rambling for a while now. I'm tired as hell and I need to get some fucking sleep. As soon as I lay down, I'm gonna be. I can feel at every moment of every day that I am alone. That there isn't someone in person who is gonna help me. Even though I got money to pay somebody to do it, that money needs to go to getting me a safe place. But if somebody could handle being in Chapel, Nebraska, fucking homeless for a bit, I got $1,000 that I'm willing to pay somebody to actually make it a full time go of it for 2 weeks to a month. It's pretty obvious I'm never going to have the money to get my own place. But this battle needs to be fought. It's not just me. I wish you could understand that it's not just me. There are a lot of us speaking out.